Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben, your go-to podcast for all things green and growing. I'm Ben, your allotment guide, and here to help you cultivate your garden and your passion for plants. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, this podcast is for you. Each episode will dig into tips, tricks and techniques to make your garden and allotment thrive. From planting, sowing and growing, we will share all the tips and advice. We will also have regular episodes talking about what we have been up to on the allotment. So sit back, grab a brew and enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome back to Gardening with Ben for another new episode this week. We've had quite a few new episodes popping out, so I hope you're managing to keep up with them all. Yesterday we were talking all about mental health in the garden and the allotment, and hopefully I'm going to be doing a video on that as well soon on my YouTube channel. If you've not checked out all my latest videos, there is lots more new videos popping up on my YouTube channel, and thank you to all those who have subscribed to it and been watching my videos. It has really helped. We are pushing for it to get to the stage of monetization this year, so all the views, all the subscribers really does help push it out there, so thank you for that. But yeah, hopefully we'll get lots more videos coming. If you've got any ideas of videos that you want on there, just drop me a message on Instagram. I'm always up for new ideas, and yeah, I love sharing tips and advice from down there. We'll also be doing another tour video coming up this week down at the allotment. I'm going to be doing them on a weekly basis, as obviously things are growing now on the allotment. Well, trying to with this weather, but hopefully we'll get lots more growing down there, and we've got quite a lot more to be getting planted. And that leads on to one of our subjects of today. We're going to be talking about growing cucumbers. Yes, cucumbers. Now, cucumbers are expensive, obviously, to buy in the shops, and I've always done well with growing cucumbers down at my allotment. And the variety that I usually grow is the Market More variety of cucumber, as it seems one of the easier ones to grow regarding pollination, getting them started and training them and growing lots and lots of fruit on them. So I've been growing Market More variety for about 16 years now, and I've never had any issues growing them. Sometimes you obviously get nibbled when they get started on, but after that usually they get growing pretty well. And I tend to grow these in my polytunnel, and yeah, it can get kind of hot in there and humid, but I do have a good success rate with them all. And all I do with my cucumbers is I just grow them in a bucket with some holes in the bottom, and I just purchase some regular compost from the supermarket or from the garden centre DIY shop, and I fill it about 3/3 full of compost, and I plant one in each bucket. Now these buckets I usually get from somewhere like Morrison's, the flower buckets, and they usually do the job pretty well. And we've had these flower buckets for years now. All we do is wash them out each year and reuse them and make the use of them down in the allotment. So we've got about 5 cucumber plants growing down at the allotment at the moment, and these ones are all potted up in the buckets, all ready for growing this year. And we've also planted about 2 to 3 weeks ago 50 more seeds from a packet, and they've all germinated, so we need to start getting those planted up into the buckets as well soon. That might be a job for this week, but we'll see how well they're looking when I'm next down at the allotment. But yeah, I want to get as many cucumber plants growing as possible this year, as they always go down well with myself, they always keep well, and I love sharing them out with friends and family as well. And I usually have a good reception from people when they've tasted them, tasted how delicious and how sweet they are. So cucumbers are pretty easy to look after. Obviously, like I say, I grow mine in a polytunnel, so I'll water mine every couple of days, as they're big drinkers. Obviously, cucumbers are made up of a lot of water, mainly water, so they do require quite a bit of drinking water and keeping them hydrated. And obviously I like water them in the morning and sometimes spray them just to keep them nice and moist with water, and I usually do pretty well with them. So once they start growing and get to a certain height, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you get them growing up something. You don't want cucumbers growing along the floor, as things can eat them, they can get rotten, they can get eaten by rats, mice, slugs, anything will have a nibble on it. So you need to make sure you're growing them up off the ground. Now what I usually do is I usually grow them up some netting, and cucumbers are very strong plants. What they do is they send out little, I've forgotten what the word is now, like little shoots where they will grab onto something, tendrils, a bit like I think they're called. They latch onto things and wrap themselves around them. So if you've got netting up, they'll throw out these tendrils and they'll wrap themselves around the netting and they'll hold themselves tight. They won't need fastening up. You'll need to get them started by tying them onto the netting, but once they're growing up the netting, they'll grow pretty easy and they'll do pretty well. And it's funny with growing cucumbers. What I always have the issue of doing is that I'm growing them all, and then like you suddenly think you ain't got any cucumbers, and you look, and there's one hiding. To say how big they grow, you can literally be looking somewhere, and you just suddenly find a cucumber hiding somewhere, and you're like, "Wow, where did that come from?" And it can be massive. But I always do well with my cucumbers. And what I also do is I put some chicken pellets in the soil as well, so that it breaks down over 2 to 3 months and gives it continuous food right through up until it fruiting. And also I give them a feed weekly until the flowers and the fruit start appearing. And then once the flowers and the fruit start appearing, then I'll feed them probably twice a week, because the more they grow in the plants, the more food they'll need, the more energy they'll need in growing those cucumber plants. Now, depending on how many cucumbers you want growing on it, sometimes if it's got quite a few growing on it already, you can take the flowers off what haven't developed so that it concentrates on the cucumbers that are growing. Or if you want a continuous crop, I sometimes just leave them on. Once one cucumber is ready, then another one will start growing on the flowers. And obviously, if you're growing them in a greenhouse or a polytunnel, you'll need to make sure you leave your doors open so that the bees can get in there and pollinate the flowers, so that they do pollinate and you do get some cucumbers on them. If not, you can just go around with a paintbrush and tickle each flower, and that will help pollinate the flowers and hopefully produce some more delicious cucumbers. So yeah, they are pretty easy to grow, cucumbers. If you've never tried growing them before, I do advise to go out and get some. You will have a good success with them. Market More variety are a brilliant variety to grow. Now, you possibly have chance to plant some if you've not planted some, because they'll grow up until October. But you're best off probably having a look in a garden centre or something like that, seeing if you can find some cheap ones to stick in. But I do advise giving cucumbers a try. Let me know if you're going to try some cucumbers. Send me a message on Instagram. I always like to hear people's feedback from the episode. And yeah, I'm going to be sharing lots of tips and advice on my cucumbers and photos of them as well once they start growing. So that's going to be our next job, potting up 50 cucumber plants, which is going to be fun. And yeah, I'll do a video as well of it all fastened up with them on the netting and everything like that in the polytunnel. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep shining, and keep gardening with Ben, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Gardening with Ben. I hope you have found some useful tips and inspiration for your own gardening and allotment journey. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love for you to leave a review and share the podcast with fellow gardening enthusiasts. Your support helps us grow this community and continue bringing you great content. You can also follow us on social media on every platform called Gardening with Ben for daily gardening tips and updates. Happy gardening, and until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep shining, and keep gardening with Ben.